Labi, please.
Mr. Speaker, with the greatest of respect, we agreed the sectorial areas. By the sequencing, we have submitted our list. So we're grateful you go according to our list. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable.
Mr. Speaker, I think that we must be very transparent to ourselves. We met, and then, quite apart from the sectors that we agreed on, we came with a structure. Yes, please, yes. So I'm surprised, and indeed, at the business committee, we spoke to it. What we did not agree on was the times, but the times eventually we agreed on. So otherwise, the discourse will not be structured. The discourse will not be properly structured because, like the Honorable John Jinapor rises up now, perhaps maybe to speak on energy, and then there's nobody prepared for that. But, Mr. Speaker, that is where the problem is. That is where the problem is. We said to ourselves that for finance, we're going to allow 2 speakers. And now, the chairman of the finance committee asked me, I insisted. He brought 4 names, and I insisted no, that we had agreed on 2-2. And now, all of a sudden, you surface and say that, oh, we are going to have 3 speakers of finance. Mr. Speaker, we must be transparent with each other. It's not good the way we conduct matters. When we agree, we must go by the agreement. And yes, sir, where's the confusion?
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, the leader of government business is talking about transparency. Mr. Speaker, we are very transparent because our list, I submitted it to you as Speaker, recognizing the sectorial issues we agreed to, no doubt about that. So if you see our heading, it is finance, environment, employment, foreign affairs, gender and children. But Mr. Speaker, we have identified the Honorable Jinapor because of the importance of COP26, the Glasgow Conference, climate change, and matters of fossil fuel.
Yes.
He is to lead our debate on the environment.
Yes, environment, climate change.
Yes. Because there is climate change in the budget. So we said that he will lead from that perspective. Then he will be supported by the expert in that area, Dr. Tai Labi. So, Mr. Speaker, we haven't departed. I want to keep faith with what we agreed. Yes. Jinapor is not finance, and he's not.
Honourable members, what is before me are labeled: finance,
Thank you.
environment, foreign affairs, youth and sports, employment, gender. In the case of Honorable John Abdullahi Jinapor, he is number 1 on employment. I did not submit that. This is what your leaders brought. It's signed by them. I called environment, and so I'm calling environment. After that, it is foreign affairs. I'll call foreign affairs. Everybody on the list will be given the opportunity to contest. So, yes.
Mr. Speaker, with the greatest of respect, at least you've been here for over a decade. We have never done what you are trying to do now. What we do is that we select the sectoral areas to be discussed for the day. As to the sequencing, you leave it to the various caucuses. Why are we trying to cocoon a caucus that, since the other side wants to speak environment, you must also speak environment? We will speak environment by the close of the day. But, Mr. Speaker, we have submitted our list in a sequential manner. That's how we've always done it. Please call the third person that we have on our list. Period.
Number two.
Yes, leader.
Mr. Speaker, this is a house of records. People should speak to the truth, not convenience. Mr. Speaker, we identify the sectors and mark the sectors with names. That's what you have always done. And that is the reason why you have done what you have done today. It's the reason why you have done what you have done today by submitting your names. So why are you walking away from the truth? What are we kind of pressure?
What? Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, you are very right. You are very right on what my signature is there. Honorable Abdullahi Jinapo, I signed for employment instead of environment because when I arrived, the clerk actually drew my attention that you were looking for our list. So when Ahmed brought it, that I take responsibility. But sequentially, he is third on our list to speak on environment, not employment. But you are right. The paper I gave you is what you have referred to. Mr. Speaker, it's a debate on the budget. We've done it before. This is not the
If you want to change your list, it's here. I'll give it back to you.
Yes.
Make any changes
So
you
we
want,
want,
and I'll go by
Mr.
it.
Speaker, we want the Honorable Jinapo to take his turn now. That's the variation. Thank you.
Only make the changes in your pen and bring it to me.
Mr. Speaker, with
Yes.
respect, I don't know even where we are and what disagreement is ensuing. Because the leader of the minority just got up to say that the Honorable John Jinapo is going to speak on energy, environment. And if it's for environment, what's the need to change anything again? What's the no? You are saying that he's going to talk on environment. Glasgow and whatever. Now you are saying that you're going to change. Change what again? If you are truthful to yourselves, you have said he's going to speak on environment. So what are you changing again?
Yes, Honorable Deputy Leader.
Mr. Speaker, clearly they submitted the list to you. Honorable Tel Abi, as it's happening now, it's like there's some discrimination. He's been embarrassed. The man is ready to debate. It's as if they don't have confidence in him. Mr. Speaker, the MP for Eurocrop, Mr. Speaker, his constituents know that he's ready to debate, and some people want to deny him an opportunity that they don't have confidence in him. Mr. Speaker, no, you are choosing Honorable J.J. Jinapo over him. That's what we're trying to do now. The man is ready, and you're embarrassing him, Mr. Speaker. It is his right to speak. All right, they shall let him. Mr. Speaker, why? Why do you choose John Jinapo over Honorable Tel Abi? Why? What's happening? You are discriminating. You have to be fair. Mr. Speaker, this amounts to discrimination. You cannot be fair to your own colleagues. Why are you giving priority over some members over Honorable Tel Abi? Why? You've given his name and suddenly you are changing. Mr. Speaker, well, his constituents have seen what you are doing to him.
Yes, Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I don't think that Honorable Akonyumaki should be allowed to manage our caucus for us. We know how to manage our caucus. And Mr. Speaker, I don't know why you should allow him to do that. He is not the one to choose for us who speak on what topic. It is our duty to do that. And we are saying that Honorable Jinapo should speak. That is none of your business. That is none of your business. So by trying to point to Honorable Tel Abi and to say that his constituents are seeing what we are doing to him, you are not being fair to the member. And you are not being fair to the caucus. Mr. Speaker, we should not allow Akonyumaki to behave the way he's been doing. It is not fair.
Very well, honorable members. The leader has made changes and he has brought me a new list. And under the new list, John Abdullahi Jinapo will now speak on the ballot. Yes.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker.
You want to respond to
Right Honourable Speaker.
You want to respond to this guy. You want to respond to him.
Right.
Imagine his name.
Mr. Speaker, I find the deputy minority leader comment very unfair.
Please.
No, he mentioned my name.
I'm not giving you the floor. If the time is running against you, please go ahead.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, it is true that climate change is a major issue as far as the socio-economic development of this world is concerned. Mr. Speaker, indeed, Africa contributes only 2 to 3% when it comes to global warming as far as climate change is concerned. Mr. Speaker, climate change continues to pose a major problem towards food security. And in order to appreciate that, you ought to go to the budget. The Minister of Finance tells us that our rate of inflation, which is 11%, is mainly on account of food inflation. And yet his colleague, the Minister of Agri, is on one radio station to the other, telling the people of Ghana that food inflation is tumbling in the markets. Mr. Speaker, between the two, between the Minister of Finance and the media is here, they've reported the Minister of Agri and the Minister of Agri. Who do we trust? One of them cannot be right. But Mr. Speaker, if you want to appreciate this whole issue about climate change, you have to go to the 2021 budget. Mr. Speaker, following the COVID pandemic and its associated climate change consequences, the minister appeared before this house and asked Ghanaians to make so many sacrifices. Mr. Speaker, what did the minister ask us to do? All public sector workers, including MPs, our salaries were increased by just 4% against a rate of inflation of 11%. The minister went further to say that because of COVID, the national health insurance levy should be increased by 40% from 2.5% to 3.5%. He went further again and asked Ghanaians and their banks to pay a COVID financial sector recovery levy of 5%. The energy sector recovery levy was increased by 20 pesos on diesel and petrol. Mr. Speaker, the issue of climate change is very, very critical. Mr. Speaker, as a result of that, the minister has asked us to pay a sanitation and pollution levy of 10 pesos on diesel and on petrol. Mr. Speaker, he went further to ask us to pay a VAT flat rate of an increase of another 1%. All these taxes and levies, Mr. Speaker, led to a cumulative increase of 13% of fuel price at the pump, instantly. That is the sacrifice Ghanaians have made, even in the midst of climate change, Mr. Speaker. Even in the midst of all these difficulties, Ghanaians have been asked to pay a whopping 13% increment at the pump. Mr. Speaker, as if this was not enough, Mr. Speaker, as if this was not enough, the price stabilization and recovery levy has been increased by 40%. The UPPF has been increased by 164%. The boost margin has been increased by 200%. Mr. Speaker, fuel marking has been increased by 164%. This is what this government has done in the year 2021 alone, even in the midst of the consequence of climate change, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is what this government has done.
Honourable Speaker to take the chair.
Yes, honorable members. It's important to remind you that we are streaming live. And so the whole world is watching us. Just to remind you, so that how you want to be seen, viewed, and respected will be what will happen. I am told that the minority side is on the floor. Honorable John Jinapo has 15 minutes. He's already used 4 minutes. That is the instructions I have. So we'll continue from here. In fact, 4 minutes, 17 seconds. That's what you've used. So continue on environment, I'm told. After that, I'll listen to the leaders to give me the ground rules which you've agreed upon, and I'll enforce them strictly. Yes, Honorable.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I was talking about the sacrifices the ordinary Ghanaian has had to make to ensure that in what the minister described, he wanted to achieve what he called completion, consolidation, and continuity. Ghanaians were asked to tighten our belts. Mr. Speaker, Ghanaians were asked to pay so many taxes. Even after complaining, we went ahead to do that. But something happened, Mr. Speaker. Something happened that we are not averting our minds to. Mr. Speaker, in the course of the year, aside these taxes, the Minister of Finance has accrued some other revenues that we are not even talking about. Mr. Speaker, if you take oil prices alone has increased by 60.4%. Ghana is a net exporter of oil. Indeed, the difference is about $1 billion. Mr. Speaker, cocoa prices increased by 3.8%. Cocoa volumes, because your revenue is a function of price and quantity. And so even as the price is increasing, the volumes increased by 32%. Gold increased by 4.4%. Even on the downward side, because of the taxes that we collect, finished products, that is imported fuel products, increased by 41.6%. Cumulatively, it means that the minister got 11 billion from exports. That is what this minister got. That is what this minister got in terms of revenues. Despite all these taxes and other revenues, today, Mr. Speaker, you have to look at the outturn when it comes to the 2021 budget. Because you cannot do an analysis of the budget if you don't look at what we achieved in 2021. He's reported up to Q3, because that is where the data is available. Mr. Speaker, the minister told us that if we were to pay all those taxes, he would have achieved 51 billion as total revenue. At the end of the third quarter, he managed to achieve only 47 billion, meaning that there was a deficit of 4 billion. We are all talking of the deficit. If you look at the deficit, and I refer to paragraph 46, the minister is projecting that overall deficit by the end of the year will be in double digit of 12.1%. In just 9 months, despite all these revenues, just 9 months, the public debt has increased by 50 billion cedis. Mr. Speaker, today when we collect our tax revenues, it can't even satisfy debt servicing and then wages and salaries. That is the true state of the Ghanaian economy. Mr. Speaker, wallahi, Mr. Speaker, wallahi. Wallahi, Mr. Speaker, wallahi. The people of Ghana are suffering. Mr. Speaker, Nina Fedi, the people of Ghana, they are suffering, Mr. Speaker. I'm saying it, that the people of Ghana are suffering. Today, how families would even put 3 square meals on the table, it's a major issue. And as members of parliament, Mr. Speaker, I think that we should show concern, we should show empathy. I just came from the constituency. Everywhere you go, Even in the north, the cliche is that wahala, 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 wahala. But Mr. Speaker, we are not here by accident. We are here because the economic management team, led by Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, has demonstrated a clear sense of incompetence. That is the truth, Mr. Speaker. If you look at the figures, we cautioned them. We told them about borrowing. We told them about the deficit. They insisted that they knew better. I think that the time has come for the president to consider doing the noble thing by dissolving the economic management team and getting a competent team to manage this economy. Mr. Speaker, having dealt with the 2021 budget, let me now attend to the 2022 budget. Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, one would have thought that this government would change course. But when you look at the 2022 budget, it is even worse than the 2021 budget. And I will demonstrate why I say that this 2022 budget cannot be described as an Ajenkwa budget. Mr. Speaker, they are seeking to raise tax revenue from 55 billion to 80 billion. What it means is that they want to increase our tax base by 45%. In fact, total revenue is estimated at 100 billion. How are they going to achieve that? Mr. Speaker, I hold here in my hands the fees and charges for specified ministries, departments, and agencies. This bulky document that you see, this bulky document contains all those agencies. The Minister of Finance says that this year alone, all of them are going to increase their charges by a minimum of 15%. That's why he's proposing a minimum of 15%. So every government service that you try to assess, you should be prepared to pay an additional 15% on what you are paying. Mr. Speaker, and like the ranking member said, even when you've lost your relative and you want to access mortuary services, this government wants you to pay additional 15%. That is how insensitive and cruel the Akufo-Addo government has become. Mr. Speaker, as if that is not enough, after claiming credit for the benchmark values, getting the people of Abosokan to congratulate the Vice President, holding a media engagement in 2019 and telling us that he has done so well, because when you lower the benchmark revenues, throughput will increase, which will account for the revenue shortfalls. The Vice President and his economic management team, 2 years after that project, they are making a U-turn to withdraw all those benchmark revenues. And I have the list here. Almost all the vehicles that we import will be affected. Yes. So if you were to import a vehicle for your farm, be prepared to pay an additional money on that vehicle. So this issue that you are withdrawing it because of so-called production capacity is a complete misinformation to the Ghanaian people. Mr. Speaker, putting that aside, after promising that they will move away from taxation to production, I've already given you all the taxes they brought on board. They are bringing what they call the electronic levy. What does it mean? I want to give a clear critical example. If I were to buy this tablet, for say 2,000, and I take my invoice, the cost of the item will be on it, including a 17.5% VAT. Now, if I decide that I want to pay the cost, including the VAT that I'm paying to government, with my mobile money, this government wants to tax that tax that I'm paying to that government, 1.75%. That is the stark reality. In any country where you pay tax on tax, that is referred to as a regressive tax. That is why I wish to associate myself in its entirety and 100% with the venerable minority leader, the Honorable Haruna Iddrisu, that in this tax, in this form, and in this shape, the minority will not be part of it today, tomorrow, and the day after. Mr. Speaker, The minority leader statement is a powerful statement.
Yes.
And I want to plead with the members on the other side. For the first time in my life, I want to beg you, your constituents are watching you. Please, look at how your people are suffering. The people of KJTR are calling on you. The people of Suame are calling on you. That for the first time, Mr. Speaker, you rightly said that this parliament is a new parliament. Let us put the politics aside. Let us be patriotic. Let us show empathy and reject days of noxious nuisance ill-evitas. Mr. Speaker, it's even an insult unto us to decide that you tax our Momo and tell us that it is innovative. What is innovative about taxing mobile money? What is innovative about taxing mobile money? Mr. Speaker, it is clear that the vice president is becoming somebody you cannot trust. He was against Momo yesterday, today he is for it. He was against taxation, today he was for it. He was in favor for road tolls, today he is against it. Every other benchmark, he was for benchmark, today he is against it. So, Dr. Bamia, what do you stand for? That is the question. Mr. Speaker, the last point is the revenue itself. Where is this 100 billion going? They've told us that we should pay the tax so that they will use it for critical infrastructure. Mr. Speaker, let me put it on record that that is false, and it's in the budget. We are paying compensation, 35.8 billion. Interest payment, 37.4 billion. Amortization, 7.9 billion. Statutory payments, 31 billion. When you add all this together, that total revenue cannot even satisfy this amount. So what is left for so-called capital expenditure? It means that we have to borrow another 37 billion, which will still increase our public debt. Mr. Speaker, on this note, I want to end on a very sober way. I do not want to do politics at all. I just want to plead with my colleagues that please join us and let us say no to this mobile money tax because it is regressive. On that note, Mr. Speaker, let me say that climate change continues to be a major issue. Climate change continues to be a major issue. And all of us must pay attention to that. Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker.
Honorable leaders, are they